This is your boy Vic, and this is Vic Plays Games. This is going to be our first commentary video. If you like it, give it a thumbs up, and remember to share and subscribe. Today's video will be about how Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets winning the 2023 NBA title validates players from the 80s who are often criticized. This includes Dr. J, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, amongst a host of others. Now, Nikola Jokic is one of the most special basketball players in NBA history. When you look at Nikola Jokic and his advanced stats, it's truly mind-boggling. Nikola Jokic currently has the second highest PER rating in NBA history for a career. The only one who has a higher PER average is the great Michael Jordan. LeBron James, who was number 2 for all these years, has now been knocked down to number 3. When you look at box plus minus, Nikola Jokic is actually number 1 right now. When you look at career player efficiency rating in the playoffs, Nikola Jokic is now the most efficient player in NBA playoff history, above, you guessed it, Michael Jordan. With all of that being said, Nikola Jokic is playing a game very reminiscent of how players used to play in the 70s and the 80s. In my opinion, Nikola Jokic is a perfect combination offensively of Bill Walton and Larry Bird. He's not as good of a defensive player as those two were, even though Jokic is a crafty defender, in my opinion, above average defender. But offensively, he is a perfect combination of them. He has the outlet passing ability of Bill Walton, the craftiness in making certain passes like Larry Bird, but he also has his own certain type of vision where he can pass players open. It's something that we really haven't seen from a center before. When it comes to rebounding, very good rebounder, just like Walton and Larry Bird were during their peak. A great low post scorer, just like Walton was. A great mid-range shooter and three-point shooter, just like Larry Bird was. He is a perfect combination offensively of those two players. So, with Nikola Jokic and, to a lesser extent, Luka Doncic dominating the NBA the way that they are, as two slow, unathletic white boys that cannot jump over a phone book, I always wonder why people are still trying to slide people like Larry Bird or Kevin McHale from the 80s, saying that they have no chance in today's NBA. To me, it is ludicrous. Everyone always talks about how today's NBA has the most talent that the league has ever seen. I think that today's NBA caters to certain things that players in the past weren't even allowed to do. For example, the Euro step. I can show you footage of Dominique Wilkins pulling off a clean Euro step in the 80s. Players have always had the ability to do these moves. However, due to the way the game was officiated, players didn't do them because they knew they would get called for a turnover. Same thing with a lot of the dribbling moves or dribbling packages we see in today's NBA, where a lot of times players get away with double dribbles, palming the ball, taking too many steps. Players back in the 80s, 90s, 70s, 60s, most definitely in the 50s, weren't allowed to do those things at all. With that being said, Nikola Jokic would dominate in any era of NBA basketball. When you look at how he even lays the ball up, I like the way Jokic plays because he uses his head. He knows, okay, I'm 7 foot. I am going against a guy who may be switched on me who's 6'2". He doesn't do the thing that so many NBA players do today where you have a height advantage and he just tries to pass it out to a corner for a contested three-point shot. No, Jokic will turn around, either shoot a small hook shot over them, or he'll take a small pull-up because of his high release point. His high release point very reminiscent of Larry Bird's high release point, and just shoot a 5-foot jumper and it'll swish. That's how players used to play in the post in the 70s. If you look at how players used to play in the post in the 70s, you look at people like Willis Reed, you look at people like Luke Walton, you look at Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, you look at Bellamy, you look at how they scored in the post. They would shoot just like that. So Jokic plays an old school game. Shaq had major problems when he had to face off with Akin in the 1995 NBA Finals, right? Akin had issues with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Wilt Chamberlain battled in the 70s. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was undeniably the most dominant player in the 1970s, but was only able to win one NBA championship. And that's when the NBA was more diluted due to the fact that the ABA was a very good competitor to the NBA at that time. So you had the talent split up into these two leagues that were playing high quality basketball. So looking at all of that and seeing how Jokic plays like these players from the 60s, the 70s, and 80s, can we really continually dismiss these players from previous generations? I say we shouldn't. When you look at players like Kevin McHale, when you look at how he's built, the guy had no neck. But when it comes to post moves, Kevin McHale is 1A behind Akin Olajuwon. They're the two best post players I've ever seen in terms of their moves to get open and score. Hakeem is number 1, Kevin McHale is 1A. He is right below Akin Olajuwon. Watch some Kevin McHale tape if you haven't. That guy was a beast in the post. No neck, could score on you at will. Even the 50s, like if you want to include people like George Mikan. Like if you look at some of George Mikan's footage, that guy was incredible. He was quite literally ambidextrous. George Mikan was right-handed, but he would score on 15-foot left-handed hook shots. Like, George Mikan was insane. And this is all without modern training techniques or modern technology. So my conclusion is this. Nikola Jokic is an amazing player. And the same can be said about players from previous eras who dominated as well. Do I like today's version of the NBA? Yes, I do. However, I do not like the way that players in today's NBA continually disrespect older players. And I'm saying this as a 90s kid. I grew up as a late 90s, early 2000s fan as a kid. So I saw Jordan, I saw Shaq, I saw Pippen, I saw Kobe, I saw Allen Iverson. You know what I mean? I saw Tim Duncan, I saw David Robinson towards the end of his career. I saw these great players, right? And so my vantage point of seeing the league from that standpoint, as well as studying past tapes, I see talented players in all eras. So for me, if you are a current NBA player and you think you're just gonna go in the 70s, you just waltz through everybody, just remember this. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, most people would put him on an all-time list above Nikola Jokic due to his impact on the offensive and defensive end. Kareem in the 70s was only able to win one title in a more diluted NBA. That says a lot about how good those players actually were back then. But hey, do you guys agree with me? Do you disagree? Do you think I'm just blowing hot air? What are your thoughts? Feel free to comment. This is your boy Vic, and this is Vic Plays Games. Peace!